Yo, people. Today I'm going to talk about two very different ways of thinking and how this kind of divides people. First is principle first, and the other is reality first. So I'm going to break this down, go through some examples. I'm going to try and make this as quick as I can. Principle first means that you act according to rules, social norms, moral codes, even if the situation makes that rule counterproductive. On the other hand, you have reality first, where people will adjust to context. They prioritize a good outcome for themselves. They have situational awareness and the logic of survival over an abstract consistency. I hadn't really tried to articulate this point, but I think that it is very important because it says a lot about how people react to situations. And I think that the two camps are very different in the way that people view the world and the way that we react to different situations. So in principle first thinking is acting from an internalized rule, a value, or an institutional norm, even when it doesn't fit the real world dynamics. The example that I think of is a pedestrian who's about to cross the road at a zebra crossing, even though a vehicle is clearly not going to stop, purely because they have right of way. And so this type of mindset, it provides a moral clarity, social cohesion, but in edge cases or chaotic environments where the map doesn't match the terrain, it just collapses. On the other hand, you have reality first thinking, which is responding to the actual incentives, the power dynamics, or the physical reality of the moment, and prioritizing a good outcome for yourself over some ideal situation. You're at a zebra crossing, you look at if someone intends to give way, and if they don't, or they're not able to stop, you don't step out in front of the car, right? And so this principle first way of thinking, it stabilizes a complex social system. It's like the glue of civilization. It's useful, it makes things predictable, and it sets a standard for the way to act in certain situations. However, in unpredictable environments, a reality-first mindset makes you adaptable. So in a decaying or unstable system like the UK, the principle-first mindset completely collapses because people are behaving as if the system is functional when it isn't. Today, I went through a red light whilst I was cycling. And the reason I do that is because this area of Southampton is got an unlimited number of dodgy people. You've got drug addicts, homeless, these alcoholic guys that sit around the park, people that live in tents, right? Seriously rough people. It's unpredictable. It's literally like the Wild West. And I went through there, and the light went red and I just went straight through it. And this guy that was walking a dog shouted at me and was like, "There's a police van behind you." The police did nothing. I don't know if they even saw it. I was like, "Mate," I didn't say anything, but I just thought, do you realize where you are? Okay, you're not in the gardens of Buckingham Palace, right? You're in a town centre that's full of all these wrong-uns. And you're acting as if these rules should still apply, okay? These rules are a good guideline. They keep things predictable. But I am not sitting at a red light and making myself a sitting duck, okay? Because you are literally around countless people who probably have £200 a day drug habits, whose primary method of getting money is just stealing things. They would stab you for far less than an expensive bike. And that is the reality of it. If you can't see that, then you're living in some dream world. So this idea that if everyone did what they wanted, there'd be chaos. Yes. But everyone in a lot of places is doing what they want. And you're making yourself a sitting duck by following these rules, as if being obedient is more safe, when actually it's not. So I feel like a lot of people, they get their kind of identity moral security, their virtue signaling. It comes from following rules. And this is the situation where you've outsourced your judgment to authority, whether it's government, media, religion, academia, because that makes you feel certain. So these people, they're more compliant, they trust institutions, and this moral worth is tied to conforming to the rules. But it doesn't hold up in situations like the fucking Wild West, which is what it's like in England. Like, you go outside, it is lawless. You're making yourself an easy target if you're acting like everyone else is playing by the rules. They're not. People who think in this reality first way adapt to different situations. They look at what works and what doesn't, and they're pragmatic about things. They trust their own perception more than some abstract rule. And they see structure as a convenience, but not as God. Rules are guidelines, not gospel. The systems that exist are only as real as their enforcement. An authority isn't automatically legitimate. And if something doesn't make sense, ignore it. Okay, we're not just blindly following things because we're told to. Okay, we actually question it and say, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't keep me in a safe situation. I'm not doing that. So this is a big divide between people, these two camps. This is what people massively disagree about. And there's a couple of examples I've got here in different domains. COVID. Principle first thinking is follow the science, obey the mandates, and reality first is adapt your own risk logic. The data is politicized. Someone asked me recently, how was lockdown for you? And I was like, that just didn't happen to me. Like, I wasn't locked down. I don't know what you mean. You decided that you were locked down. I wasn't. I went to work and they said, you have to wear a mask. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And my neighbor was tracking every time I was going in and out of the house. But there was no, what was locked down about my life? Like, there was nothing. It was just quiet outside. In the driving and cycling, principle first is never cross a red light. But reality first is read the situation. What's safe over the symbolism and this rule? People trust the media. Principle first is the BBC wouldn't lie. And reality first is all narratives serve different agendas. Politics. Principle first is democracy, means vote and comply. Reality first is power operates through networks, not ballots. Economics. Principle first is pay taxes, obey regulations. Reality first is structure your affairs to minimize exposure. Morality. The principle first is it's wrong to break rules. And the reality first is rules are situational, outcomes define ethics. And so there's this big divide, I think, between these two ways of thinking. When a system degrades or becomes extractive, and when institutions serve themselves instead of the public, following rules becomes self-sabotage. This is what people don't realize. And this is where people who think in reality first detach from this social contract. They decide what's best for them. And they don't try and virtue signal about what the right way to do things is. People who think in a principle first way, they experience moral outrage when other people cheat the system or ignore rules. They see disobedience as a threat. It destabilizes this order that they rely on. Whereas reality first people experience frustration with those who don't see reality. They see this blind obedience as dangerous. Like you're stepping into the road because of pain, not physics. It's just crazy. So both sides of these people think the other is insane. And the thing that I would pose is that the system rewards this principle first obedience. But the people who actually run it, they act based on reality. They don't have principles like this. You know, they don't care about doing their part. They want us to police each other socially. They want us to obey regulations. They want to change our behavior with all these different nudges. These rules don't necessarily serve us 100%. The people who control this, they break the rules and redesign the rules to suit themselves. Okay, and this is the people who are actually successful. They don't play by the rules. Stop thinking that the rules keep you safe and that you should follow them so blindly, unquestioningly, because it isn't how things really work. It's not reality. It's made up bullshit. Stop living in a dream world. Start living in reality. Because if you act like you're in this dream world where the rules really make a difference and the rules are what you should think about, things are going to come unstuck. The situation has drastically changed. And especially out and about in town centers. Yeah, don't think that because you follow the rules that everyone else is going to and that you doing that keeps you safe, because it doesn't.